Hi, everybody. It's Sunday evening. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. Lots to talk about weather-wise tonight. Boy, we have a very active weather pattern, not just with the tropics, but we've got some serious heat coming our way. You felt it today. It was just downright tropical outside. Our dew point shot up to around 75 degrees, which is real thick air this afternoon. And temperatures were hot, but we're going to get hotter from here. Are we going to keep that humidity with it or not? We're going to take you through the numbers as we go throughout the week. Also, tropics, as I mentioned, very active. We had Hurricane Hillary, which is now a tropical storm, which has made landfall in California. So we'll talk the latest and kind of how that ties into our weather pattern here across the region. So we've got that to discuss. We'll answer your questions as we always do on this Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome into the show, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. I hope you have had a nice weekend so far. We had our boys' birthday party. They have a joint party because they both have August birthdays. We had the birthday party yesterday. It was great. The weather was nice, a little warm, but it's August. And then I had a couple of you message me, if you follow me on my personal social media channel. I didn't want to bring this up on the news, but I had told the anchors the story right before we went on air. We were talking about during the commercial break. And we got back to being on air, and the anchors were like, and no one tossed to me. And so one of them said, they're like, you just have to tell everybody. And so I want to share this on air, but it ended up being okay. But we had something happen in our house, which was totally freaky. So I told the viewers about it. Some of you, and anyway, and then they said you have to post the video of it. And so I did, even though I really didn't want to. And some of you have commented on that and asked me about that. So what happened was I was downstairs one evening last week, like right over here. And my wife comes down, and I'm on the treadmill. I'm mid-workout. I'm in the zone. And my wife comes down, and she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And I'm like, "My mile time? Is that, but it wasn't that." I said, "What?" And she's like, "There's a snake upstairs." And I said, "Are you, what?" So I got off the treadmill. We went upstairs, and there was a snake underneath our dining room table in the house, live snake. And it was wrapping around the leg of one of our chairs. At this point, we're both freaking out. Okay, what do we do? All right, and this snake was pretty big. It was pretty big, probably like 4 to 5 feet long if I were to, hold it up, which obviously I didn't do. So we're freaking out. It's like 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30 at night. Kids are asleep, and I'm crying like a baby, and I like wet my pants. I went over. I was sucking my thumb in the corner, and my wife, more power to her, she's amazing. She took a Tupperware container and put it over the snake first, because that's what we had to do. So then we studied it. We're Googling what kind of snake it was. We thought it was a milk snake. I still think it's a milk snake, but a couple of viewers said it was a corn snake. Anyway, long story short, we put a bulletin board underneath it, and my wife carried it out with the Rubbermaid container over it out to the street and let it go in the woods. I mean, they are good. They eat mice and all sorts of things you don't want around. It was just to have it in our house. How did it get in the house? I have no idea. We did have a little bit of construction done prior week, so maybe they disturbed it and sent it in a hole somewhere, but just to have one in the house. But our thinking is, and my whole point of this is, our thinking is that it might have come from down here at some point, because that's like where the construction is, where the wall is. So if any of you see anything crawling behind me or up in the pipes, will you please let me know? Interrupt the forecast, whatever you happen to do. Okay. So anyway, that's the story of the snake. I didn't mean to take 4 minutes of your time, but I had to explain for some of you, and it was just nuts. So if any of you had similar experiences, please let me know. What a mess. All right, let's dive into the forecast. I do want to thank our sponsors very quickly here. Tigerplumbing.net is the place to go for any of your plumbing needs. They're wonderful. If you have, all of you have heard about them. They're doing $30 off a service call. So not only do they come out for free, but they'll give you $30 off. You have to mention it though. Just say Region Weather. I saw it on Region Weather. They'll give you $30 off. They're great. Public Service Adjusting, that's the PSA logo you see right there. If you have any kind of claims insurance-wise on your house, on your property, whatever it happens to be, call them first. I know that's not what you're traditionally taught. You're taught to call the insurance company. They can come out, they take pictures, and then they say, all right, we'll give you $200 for this. And you're like, well, it was worth $600. And then you're in trouble because it's just you and them, and that's it. If you call PSA first, they come out. They have licensed folks that will give you an estimate of how much they think they can get for it. They'll get you as much as possible. They'll work hand in hand with the insurance company, so you don't deal with them at all, which is great. I know you love your insurance company, but not that much that you want to deal with them, especially during a busy week. So if you have any insurance problems whatsoever, PSA, publicserviceadjusting.com, and they have nothing but 5-star reviews. stjudehouse.org, that's our nonprofit. They are just doing wonderful work around the region, more big things in store for them. It all centers around domestic violence, which is something I know a lot of people don't talk about, but a lot of people are dealing with, whether it be some of you or coworkers or friends or family. It's kind of the thing we don't talk about, right? But they're really doing some great work around that in the region with a mobile advocacy program they have where they'll come meet victims wherever they want, discreetly. Everything's confidential. And they'll find out what the victims need. All right. So if you need any help around that, or you know somebody, it's stjudehouse.org. And then finally, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. You guys all know them. Wonderful car dealership. They make car buying fun. They've been around the region for a long time. Great specials on Jeeps right now at Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. All right. So here we go. Jumping into the forecasts here. Real interesting satellite presentation. All right. August is usually quiet. We always watch the tropics in August, okay? Our peak hurricane season. When does hurricane season peak? When can we expect the most storms typically out over open waters? Usually in early to mid-September. All right, September 10th through the 14th are typically the peak days where the waters are the warmest. There's not a lot of shear because everything's kind of quiet, and we tend to get the most systems. What you don't really expect to see in August on the map is a system coming through California in the western U.S., all right? It's happened before, not often, though. They'll get moisture a lot, but a tropical storm coming into California, it's been a while. 1939, I believe, was the last time, somewhere around there, give or take, but just an amazing system for them. It's not really the wind that they're concerned with out there. I don't know what happened to my satellite, but it's not necessarily the wind that they have that they're concerned with out there. It's the rain. The fact that, here in the region, we have mainly flat ground. I mean, all things considered, and everything can kind of soak in, go into rivers and streams. Out there, it's so mountainous, right? It goes from coast to mountains in a matter of miles. And that's a problem because they get, 3-4 inches of rain on top of the mountain, and then they get 3 to 4 inches of rain on the side of the mountain. All of that water comes rushing down. So mudslides are going to be a huge issue for them out west. And you guys have known me long enough. We don't make a big deal about things very often, right? We'll tell you if it's a big deal. This is a big deal for them. And then the heat is really going to be a big deal for us this week. We're talking some serious heat for us, okay? So more on that in a second. Here's the remnants of Hillary, all right, as it heads in. I mean, this is LA. San Diego's right here. San Francisco up here. You got Vegas. I mean, they're all getting soaked, right? And they're getting some wind with it as well. This is a lot of moisture. August is typically their driest month out there as well. A lot of places like LA average 0 inches of rain and 0.0 inches of rain in August, and they're obviously going to get a lot more than that. Some places are going to get close to their yearly total of rain. Is it good news for them? Kind of, with the rain. This has been one of the lowest wildfire seasons in a long time for the western U.S. because of all the rain and snow they had last year. We're getting a lot of wildfire smoke, obviously, from Canada, right? They're having a real bad year, but in terms of the U.S., it's not a bad year. There are some fires now up towards Washington, Oregon, and Montana, and this will help them. You can see how that rain just kind of comes in, but so there's kind of a blessing with this as well. All right, so all that heads up into Canada, okay? And then it kind of curls around. It's going to miss us, but it's going to be close to us. You'll see here as we go in the future maps. But in terms of the Atlantic, we start to talk tropics in the Atlantic because storms can come inland, especially over the Gulf Coast, and they can come up through Indiana. We can get the remnants, much like they're seeing in California right now. So we need to keep our eye on it. It's been a very quiet season so far, but as I mentioned, things really start to ramp up here as we go in the next couple of weeks. It's August 20th. Next 2-3 weeks or so are expected to be pretty active in the tropics as they usually are. System to watch in the Gulf, they are expecting that to become some kind of tropical cyclone, whether it be a depression or a tropical storm. That's going to head out towards the west into Texas. They need the rain in Texas. They haven't had rain in a long time for areas inland. You've got Tropical Storm Franklin out here in the Southern Caribbean. You've got Tropical Depression number 6 and then Tropical Storm Emily as you get out to sea. All these are heading out towards the west. As of right now, it doesn't look like any of them will make landfall in the U.S., at least a projection. A couple of them kind of hang out, like Emily especially kind of hangs out for a little bit. So we'll see. Either way, tropics are getting active. If you haven't been paying attention over the weekend, which a lot of people don't, I'm catching you up, all right? This is the kind of stuff you're going to hear about as we go into Monday, national news and all that good stuff, okay? For us, the main stories is heat. This is that same dome of heat. It gets hotter and cooler. It kind of expands, but it's the same relative dome of heat that's been out in the western U.S. just baking them all summer long, all right? And we're getting a taste of it now. We highlighted this last week. And actually, this was 3 weeks ago. I wrote it down. It was August 8th. August 8th, we mentioned the pattern change with heat possible, August 20th through the 23rd. Is that not crazy? It doesn't always verify, but we talked about that on this show that week. I wrote it down 3 weeks, almost 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We were talking about this dome of heat, and it hasn't come to fruition all summer long. So that's the thing I was saying was in the modeling, like, yeah, it's shown we get hot then on some of the models, and we're overdue for it, and we're certainly getting it today. So today we were upper 80s. You felt that humidity. It was so tropical outside measured by the dew point. And that's kind of where we're going to go from here. So in terms of humidity, here's the important things you need to know about this week. We'll talk about where the heat goes. But in terms of humidity, tomorrow it's going to get a little bit drier outside. It's still going to be humid, but it's not going to be quite as tropical as today. We get a little wind out of the northeast aloft, which brings in some slightly drier air. Tuesday, we start kind of less humid, but still humid, not quite as bad. And then that humidity comes right back to where it was today. So by late Tuesday, we're back to that tropical humidity. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's all tropical. Okay, so that humidity is not going away this week. It does look to go away next weekend, which is great timing on that. But it is going to be a sultry work week around here, okay? So let's track this dome of heat. Here's where the core of it is, over Missouri and Kansas, all right? We are on the outer fringe of it, but it is, we're in it, okay? And what I mean by dome of heat, it's literally hot air that pushes these heights of the atmosphere way up high. There's so much sinking air that you can barely produce a cloud or rain underneath this. It literally is a dome of heat in the atmosphere, and it controls the atmosphere around it. Cold air kind of bounces off and goes around it. So it's very strong right now. It'll be strong tomorrow. You notice how tomorrow it kind of pulses in our direction. All right, this is Monday right here. So we're talking hot tomorrow. And then it starts to slowly dissipate. All right, this is still major heat right here. So don't get me wrong on that. And again, these are the heights of the atmosphere. So this measures where the dome of that is. I think this is good visually, so we can tell where it is. I think our two hottest days are Wednesday, Thursday, as of right now. And I know it looks like it's lessening up here, but it really isn't. We still have some very hot air around, and you can see how as we go into Wednesday, here's Thursday, we start to feel the influence of this semi-trough that comes in northeastern half of the United States. And that's actually from Hillary. Hillary's remnants go up into Canada like this. They go way up and around, and then they come. And that's actually going to help squash that heat just a little bit. And then by the weekend, as we get into Friday and Saturday, a frontal boundary will come through, and that should push that heat back down to the south. Remember how everything waits for tropical systems. So as Hillary heads up the west coast, the heat can't bubble its way back. So instead, everything kind of works its way like this once Hillary departs, all right? So that's some really good news. And then there you go on into the weekend and next week. Watching the tropics, Euro hinting at perhaps two storm systems out in the Gulf, another one out in the Atlantic. But you notice where the heat goes. It goes back out towards the west. We're back to more seasonable readings around here, okay? So let's put some numbers on it. This is the last thing I'm going to show you. There's really no rain in the forecast this week as this dome of heat continues to be around. There's a slight chance on Wednesday and Thursday as some of the remnants of Hillary kind of come around in New York and Ohio. We'll see if that thunderstorm boundary can come closer. But other than that, it looks dry. But what I'm going to show you here are the numbers, okay? These are the latest numbers. I'm going to show you the heat index, all right? I don't care about temperature, and I don't care about dew point. Okay, both those things tell a story, but you put those together, that's what you're feeling outside. Okay, so we're going to show the numbers that actually matter in terms of what it feels like. Okay, So tomorrow is still just downright disgusting. This is today. Let's go to tomorrow. So, I mean, at nighttime, it feels like 74 still. Like, that's not good sleeping weather. So tomorrow, we're going to have a little bit of a lake breeze because there's going to be fairly light wind. And whenever there's light wind, the cooler air out over the lake expands inland. So it will be a little bit cooler near the lakeshore. That's your place for relief. As we get inland, though, it's going to feel more like the mid-90s tomorrow, okay? Major heat out in areas of Missouri, feeling more like 115. These are not air temperatures. These are feels like temperatures, okay? And then we get back into it again. That humidity comes back in here on Tuesday. Feels like temperatures pushing upper 90s as it looks right now locally. You see how close we are to the cooler air. I mean, you head up into northern Michigan, it feels like the 60s and near 70. What a difference. But this is that core of heat right here. So we're still feeling on Tuesday in the upper 90s. So 90s feel like temperatures next 2 days. Then we bring in the major heat as it looks right now. That bubble really starts to push back towards us. It doesn't always follow exactly where the core that is. It also has to do with low pressures and wind flow and how that wind is flowing. But this is Wednesday. We have the potential for some real serious heat around here. The Euro indicating feels like temperatures up around 110. That's a big difference from even mid and upper 90s on Tuesday, okay? So this is Wednesday. These are your feels like temperatures. As of right now, I would probably go 105 to 110 for feels like. We'll probably have a heat advisory out, okay? So Wednesday, not good. I know a lot of kids are back in school this week. Some schools have air conditioning. I know there's still some that don't. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I don't know if they'll call it for that or what, but that, I mean, this is crazy heat. It really is. And then Thursday looks hot as well. Could be another day up around 110. Some of the modeling is indicating maybe 115. I've seen models that say 120. All right. I'm going kind of the middle of the road with this. The National Weather Service is talking about those models as well. So just keep in mind, Wednesday, Thursday, we could have some really dangerous heat around here. And again, heat's not sexy to talk about, but it's out of all the weather things that cause people to lose their lives, heat is number one by far. It's not even close to flooding or tornadoes, all that stuff, which you think those are the bad ones. It's heat. All right. So again, I'm not going to tell you how to, drink water, stay hydrated, but do it. Okay. Please take care of yourself Wednesday and Thursday. All right. And then we get some relief. This is on into Friday. I mean, it's still bad. We still have 90s, but that heat should start to get pushed down to the south as that cold front begins to make its way south. And then look by Saturday. I mean, this is Saturday afternoon. It feels like 68 to 70. There's a real refreshing air mass that comes in here this weekend with very low humidity and a nice refresher out of the northwest. So for Friday night football again, I know we had a pretty nice Friday night football weather. For Friday night football this week, it actually looks really good. Their practices this week are not going to be good, but it's going to be really hot as we go throughout the week. Okay. All right. So let's answer your questions. I'll get back, read some of your questions, and then we'll get you on your way here on this wonderful Sunday night. Again, hoping you guys had a wonderful weekend. I see the snake comments. Yeah, Brenda, I see your story there. She had a baby snake in her basement, got her neighbor to come over. Yes, I don't blame you for that. Tom says, tell the Southwest to man up. They complain about how dry it is. Tom, it's amazing. I mean, these numbers this week are going to rival some of the hottest numbers that they produce in the Southwestern United States. I mean, 120 is nothing to slack at. I mean, 100 is bad. As I get older, it gets worse. So there you go. Barbara, pretty similar to us. I think it's going to be real close. Heat index temperature Thursday in Indy, very similar to ours. I mean, around 110 as it looks right now. From experience, yeah, I mean, same as ours. Actually, a little bit less. We'll see. Either way, it's going to be hot. But again, some things can come in and change this. I mean, we could see some kind of complex of storms that comes across Michigan Tuesday night. I'm just randomly throwing something out there. And that would put out some kind of outflow boundary that would keep us slightly cooler these days. Models, again, have been notorious at saying there's a lot of heat coming, and they tend to back off just a little bit. That's why I'm showing you kind of the middle of the road model, because there's some models that say it's a lot warmer. And I'm sure there's other sites and other meteorologists showing those just to get your attention. I want to verbalize that that's possible, but I want to show you what, what's more likely to happen in terms of that. Mark had a good poker run benefiting St. Jude's House. Awesome. Riley's Children's Hospital and Autism Awareness. Over 6,000 raised. Mark, that's awesome. Not bad for 105 riders. That is really good. You got good weather for that, too. I know a couple years you haven't. Maxwell asks a really good question. He says, "Is it me, or does it seem like when we get a hurricane near the U.S., all the severe weather shuts down?" Maxwell, you're right. Typically, and it's not always the hurricane that causes that, but typically when we have a hurricane coming into the U.S., we've got some sort of high pressure somewhere in the U.S. that's kind of pulling it in, right? And that's the case. This dome of heat, everything rotating clockwise around it. So if you just follow the arrow, the clockwise flow brought Hillary, instead of going out towards Hawaii, it brought it inland. It kind of pulled it up. So that typically is the case. And I mean, hurricanes and tropical systems steal the show. Everything waits for them. If there's a hurricane going up the East Coast or out in the Atlantic, everything, it puts up the stop sign for all weather out towards the West, because hurricanes are so strong. I mean, they're a very strong area of low pressure. So they rule the atmosphere, they rule the weather map, and everything has to wait. And so when things are waiting, that means they're not moving. When things aren't moving, it means you don't have a strong jet stream typically. When you don't have a strong jet stream, you typically don't have severe weather. So there you go. It all kind of goes hand in hand. Let's see. Oh, Dot says, a daughter arriving from England Tuesday night. She's so happy we'll have heat this week because she doesn't ever get that over there. That's interesting, Dot. Yeah, I mean, some people love this stuff. You know, it does feel like a sauna when you go outside, and saunas are popular. So there's that. But, you know, my heart goes out to construction workers. And I know we've got a lot of them on Region Weather. I can't say any are on tonight. I have no idea. But construction workers, roofers, anyone that's outside in this, I'm more power to you. Water, 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 water. That's interesting, Barb. Barb asks the opinion on bad weather by Dominican Republic. Barb, 3 weeks is a long time. I mean, if you're taking a trip down there, I mean, bless your heart. And the reason why I say that, because that's peak tropical system. I mean, tropical season. So that's the highest risk, and that's probably why maybe you got a better rate. That's the highest risk to have some kind of hurricane or tropical storm in that area 3 weeks from now. There's no guarantee anything's going to be there. It's going to be very active this week. Storms tend to take a week to cross the Atlantic. So some of the systems out towards Africa right now would be in here next week. Still too early to tell, though, but the risk is definitely the highest this time of year in areas of the Dominican and the Caribbean. All right. Savannah, yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And I hope your husband drives safely this week for sure. Yeah, Ken, I got your comment there. Yeah, it is that time of year, Mark. Ken says working with insulation for a living. So Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, man, Ken. Yes, all that good stuff. Hi there, Brett. Thanks for joining us. Yes, Lance says we played pickleball tonight in LaPorte. That's awesome. Lance, have you always been on the pickleball bandwagon, or is that something you just jumped on recently and got into? I know a lot of people really into that now. I mean, pickleball's picked up. Everyone knows that. But JB says, let's have a ton of blizzards this winter. Let's go. Guys, if it's any consolation with this heat this week, just remember, I mean, we are now, it's August 20th, so September 20th, October 20th. We're 2 months away from potential flakes in the air. Okay. Yes, I said it because I just want us to have a reality check. 2 months, that's like nothing. And it's always amazing to me how quickly we go from this to that. All right. So please keep that in mind. Susan says, thank goodness we just had our AC replaced. Should we worry if we get back in a drought again? Susan, I wouldn't worry too much about a drought. We are going to go dry this week. And dry plus heat is really going to dry things out. But after this, it looks like we get into a rainier pattern. This doesn't look like the thing that set up earlier this summer where we just had persistent weather pattern change. I think we'll get back to it. So we should be okay after this. Okay. Wow. Savannah's husband hauls cement dust. Oh, yeah. He needs to be hydrating. Yeah. Tammy brings up a really good point. Tammy, thanks for saying that. Look for your outside animals in the heat. Look out for your animals, guys. Bring them into the cool air with you. I saw there was a meme a couple of years ago. Someone had a horse on their couch. I think it was a joke, but they were saying, keep your animals cool. But whatever it takes, make sure you take care of them. Yeah, Laura, you will be for sure. Lots of sweat this week. Brett, not necessarily. Yeah, not necessarily. So Brett asks a good question. He says, so is the heat going to cause major storms? Not always the case. This heat it can actually be too hot to create severe thunderstorms. The sweet spot's usually in the 80s and low 90s. Once it gets this hot, there's so much sinking air typically with this kind of heat that it's hard to even form clouds. So That's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why desert Southwest you don't have a lot of severe weather out there because it's just so stinking hot. So this doesn't always mean severe storms. In fact, I think we turn cooler on the backside of this weekend without much in the way of thunderstorms at all. So we'll go from, mid upper 90s back to the 70s with little to no weather whatsoever. So it's just, this is too hot for that kind of stuff. Pappy, that's a good question. How does the 29th look? Supposed to go camping 29th, 30th, and 31st. Let's take a look. I don't go that far on my modeling here. We can get up to the 30th. Okay, so we can get that far. Keep in mind, Pappy, this is fantasy land in the modeling. Okay, so this will change. Let's look at rainfall. It looks cooler. Okay, that's the trend, is that we turn cooler by then. We're going to turn cooler this weekend. But in terms of rainfall, you said 29th, 30th, and 31st. So this is what the Euro's saying for the 29th. There's some kind of system in the Ohio Valley. Again, this isn't going to tell you much. And then on the 30th, there's another frontal boundary that would come in. So you'd probably have rain as it looks right now, Wednesday the 30th at night, and then something into Thursday. So there's a chance of rain. That's the way I would say it right now. But to say Tuesday is going to be dry, this will all change. But it does look like a more active pattern. We can tell you that right now, that there is going to be a higher chance of rain than what we're dealing with this week. So Iron Jim, I like your comment. It's almost like we have only 3 seasons. What do you think the 3 seasons are here locally? Because I totally agree. I feel like we have 2 seasons half the time. It's crazy how it either goes from real cold to real hot. I guess I would say it's 3 seasons. That's an accurate comment. All right. I think that's it. I think I got all your comments in. Yep. So again, just in recap, it's going to be fairly dry this week. Not looking at a ton of rain, lots of sunshine. And the big story locally is going to be that heat. All right. So tomorrow's hot, much like today. Heat indices well into the 90s tomorrow, especially inland as you get up towards the lakeshore. Good beach day tomorrow. It's going to be cooler near the lake, probably within about 5 miles of the lake. Tuesday, we bring heat back. It's going to be hot. Wednesday, Thursday, as of right now, look to be the 2 hottest days. It could feel more like 110 at times, maybe higher. We'll stick with 110 right now, but still Wednesday, Thursday, not good days to be outside. By Friday, it's still hot, but we get some cooling that comes in here at some point. And then the weekend really looks good right now. So there's that. All right. Yes, you guys, you're welcome, and have a wonderful night. Stay hydrated as well. Just take care of yourselves, okay? We'll keep you updated as we go throughout the week, as always. And don't forget, on regionweather.com, a lot of you signed up last week as well, but you can get daily updates to your inbox. It's non-invasive. It's a quick click. And I have a little blog that I write every single morning when I wake up and do the radio programs. And that goes right to your inbox, and it's all local. It's not weather.com, generic stuff, blowing things out of proportion. It tells you what you can expect for your day. Okay. Again, that's regionweather.com. There's a sign up for emails right on the right-hand side of the screen. It's super easy. And then you're done. Okay. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.